The Western genre has given us some of the most iconic films in cinema history, but not every great Western was a box office success. Some of the best movies in this genre bombed at the box office but have since earned their rightful place as must-see classics. Here are some box office flops that are absolutely worth watching. The Drover's Wife is among the greatest Australian westerns ever. It follows the eponymous Molly Johnson, a pregnant mother who defends her homestead from an indigenous intruder on the land before realizing he means no harm. The two form a bond, then encounter a constable who's been sent to investigate Molly's situation. You'll be engrossed in the plot, even if audiences were uninterested upon release. One of the most famous horror westerns ever is Ravenous, directed by Antonia Bird from Ted Griffin's script. It tells the story of an army regiment who set out into the wilderness of 1840s California to investigate the allegations of an officer who has gone rogue. The plot then expands with horrifying instances of cannibalism, resulting in an essential horror western. Ravenous has accrued a committed cult following in recent years, and justifiably so. The true value of Slow West is in the engrossing dynamic of its lead characters. Michael Fassbender plays a bounty hunter who protects Cody Smith-McPhee's character while traversing 1800s Colorado in search for the latter's love interest. It's a great story, and the leads perform to perfection. This is perhaps the most underrated performance of both their careers, and as a whole, Slow West deserves far more love as an essential modern western. On top of lukewarm reception from critics, Extreme Prejudice barely scraped together half of its $22 million production budget at the box office. Even today, this neo-western remains rather underrated. Really, it should be known as one of the greatest movies by Walter Hill. With well-written plot points, it's worth a watch for the story alone. But some famous Hollywood actors also provide indelible performances, from Nick Nolte as the hero to Powers Booth as the villain. Among the most notorious flops in the history of the box office is Heaven's Gate. Its failure helped to usher in the end of New Hollywood as a film movement, with director-driven movies being pushed out of the way in favor of more control from studios. All throughout the 80s, Heaven's Gate was resented by filmmakers and fans alike. In a contemporary light, many critics, filmmakers, and fans hold this western in somewhat high regard. The Salvation is an international co-production featuring dialogue in English, Danish, and Spanish. It stars Mads Mikkelsen as John, whose wife and son are killed to kick off the plot. He goes on a revenge tour against the criminals, then finds himself at odds with the leader of their gang, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. There's no telling how The Salvation accrued less than $1 million at the box office considering its thrilling plot and star-studded cast. Ride with the Devil accrued just over $635,000 in theaters. When it comes to the box office, that's typically considered a failure, no matter the budget of the respective film. But when it comes to Ride with the Devil, the cost of the film totaled to $38 million. That's definitely considered a failure. But this Ang Lee Western deserved far better upon release, and even today, it can still be considered underrated. Either way, there's no explaining those box office numbers. Inspired by true events, this movie is Tommy Lee Jones's directorial debut. Tommy Lee Jones, Barry Pepper, and Dwight Yoakam have consistently appeared in high-quality westerns throughout their careers. Along with January Jones, they all provide powerful performances here too, while sharing tangible chemistry. Plus, it's an emotional plot, revolving around Pete Perkins, played by Jones, who kidnaps Pepper's character for murdering his friend.
Have you seen anyone coming through this area or in this general area on horseback here lately? Like maybe two men, horseback, maybe with a couple pack horses or a mule?
I ain't seen anybody in 30 years.
The movie stars Brad Pitt and Casey Affleck as the titular characters, while Mary Louise Parker, Sam Shepard, Jeremy Renner provide supporting efforts. But even with notable name value among the cast, this western still managed to bomb. With a show-stealing performance, Casey Affleck received a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars. Also recognized was Roger Deakins for his wonderful cinematography, while writer-director Andrew Dominik received great acclaim from critics. Off the bat, two names regarding Hostiles are most prominently worth noting: Scott Cooper and Christian Bale. They're among the greatest director-actor collaborators of the 21st century, having first worked together on a film called Out of the Furnace, 2013. The western at hand marks their second film together, And in terms of critical consensus, it also marks their best. It's a shame Hostiles wasn't a widespread success. While you may not be familiar with his name, the filmmaker behind Mystery Road deserves all the credit in the world for this high-quality Western. It follows Detective Jay Swan, played by Aaron Peterson, who applies his investigative skills to the disappearance of two young men and encounters some unexpected personalities along the way. You'll be engrossed the whole way through, and that's almost entirely thanks to Ivan Sen's genius. Leonardo DiCaprio and Russell Crowe appear alongside Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman, rounding out one of the greatest casts ever assembled. But the name truly worth noting regarding The Quick and the Dead would be Sam Raimi. He crafted an engaging plot and saw the project come to entertaining life. Considering its lackluster performance in theaters and mediocre reviews from critics, this is his most underrated movie. Perhaps the scariest Western ever made, Bone Tomahawk follows a group of villagers, led by Kurt Russell's sheriff, as they venture into Native American territory. Somehow, the movie made less than $500,000 against a $1.5 million budget. The latter is a minuscule number when considering the ostensible scale of production. Memorable set pieces, beautiful scenery, high-profile actors, so much went into making this masterful modern Western that it deserved far better in terms of ticket sales. The Rover features two famous performers in the lead roles, Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. The former plays Eric, who kidnaps a character named Reynolds, played by Pattinson, and forces him to track down his friends who stole Eric's car and left Reynolds behind. Set amid a dystopian Australian outback, the Rover remains compelling until the fireworks of its final reveal. This is among the greatest films by everyone involved, let alone the most underrated.
Your brother left you to die. That's what people do. You don't learn to fight, your death's gonna come real soon.
Jim Jarmusch Western stars Johnny Depp as William Blake, who goes on the run after accidentally killing a man. And there's plenty of more name value among the cast. Alas, despite some talented thespians taking part in an unforgettable journey, Dead Man garnered just $1 million in theaters. But in some respects, the $9 million that went into production paid off. Many fans consider this among the finest Westerns ever made, and justifiably so.